Greetings, comrades. Hope this finds you well. So this is a pretty interesting article I found over at the Left Voice. I'll link it down below. The title was Fed Up with AOC, Meet Myriam Bregman, a politician from Argentina who actually, stands up for the working class, who is an actual anti-imperialist. Obviously completely different than AOC's, politics. She's, the Democrats, Republicans completely beholden to the capitalist class, completely beholden to US imperialism and white supremacy, both, internally in the imperial core here in the US and abroad. And of course, Myriam Bregman is part of a socialist party because, again, there's not going to be any type of substantive change in the United States within the corporate duopoly. If you're still believing that that's possible, I have some nice, swampland I would like to sell you. So let's check out this article. Fed up with AOC, meet Myriam Bregman. AOC is known around the world as a socialist in the U.S. Congress. She's not a socialist. That really does a complete and utter disservice to that word when it's misappropriated. Yet she has disappointed supporters on the left wing by voting to fund ICE in the Israeli war machine. Are all elected officials going to betray us? We compare AOC's record to that of Myriam Bregman, the socialist Congress member from Argentina. Again, that's the big difference here. An actual socialist here, Myriam Bregman, versus AOC, who likes to cosplay as a socialist or as a democratic socialist. But again, there's no fundamental change coming from within the corporate parties, either Democrat or Republican in the U.S. Fox News and Trump absolutely hate AOC, yet she is not as radical as they seem to. She's not radical at all. AOC's voting record has disappointed supporters on the left. Some might think that any socialist elected to Congress is bound to betray their left-wing promises. But wait, on the opposite end of the American double continent, the socialist congressperson in Argentina is also making waves. Myriam Bregman is a rep of the Workers' Left Front Unity, and she is currently running for a seat in the National Congress of the city of Buenos Aires. How do AOC and Bregman compare in 10 political categories? Spoiler alert, AOC disappoints. I mean, that's not super surprising, right? An actual socialist versus one that, likes to cosplay as one. However, this is about AOC as an individual. It's about her political project of working within the Democratic Party to win reforms. We don't need to reform the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. We need to dismantle, this whole capitalist system, burn it fucking down, and build up, a dictatorship of the proletariat. Bregman in Argentina is part of a radically different project, revolutionary socialist force that aims to topple capitalism. So the real question is, how do these two opposing strategies compare? Again, Bregman comes out on top in all these categories. As a member of Congress, AOC earns $174,000 a year, making her very comfortable. And maybe that's one of the reasons her, quote unquote, radicalness went right out the door as soon as she was elected, right? She's not a millionaire, some right-wing critics have claimed, but like any politician in the US, she enjoys an extremely comfortable lifestyle, 100%. Bregman refuses to take anything more than the salary of a teacher. Concretely, she takes just 60,000 pesos per month, $573. Members of the Buenos Aires legislature earn over 260,000 pesos per month after tax, around 2,500 US dollars. So Bregman donates more than 75% of that money to a strike fund that directly supports workers' struggles. Palestine. Yep. AOC voted to fund, when Congress voted to fund the Israeli war machine, the Iron Dome, she voted present. She cried about it after, so we're supposed to, feel sorry for her or something. She called Israel an apartheid state and yet didn't want to get in the way of supporting the occupation regime, probably because she has, bigger political aspirations on her mind, like running for Senate in New York. Bregman, in contrast, has been steadfast in her support of the Palestinian struggle for liberation. As a result, right-wing forces have accused her of anti-Semitism. Common slander gets anyone who's critical of the Israeli government. There's certainly irony to this, as Bregman is also among Argentina's most prominent politicians of Jewish origin. Right-wing politicians also carried out anti-Semitic attacks against her. She responded, the ruling class have done this many times, using anti-Semitism to distract from who the real enemies, the working people, 100%. AOC voted to give $1.5 trillion to the U.S. military as a part of a 2-year budget resolution. The military uses this money to enact violence and destruction around the world. 100%. Bregman, like all the reps of the FITU, sticks to socialist principles. Not one man and not 1 cent to militarism. This means always voting against the budget for of the capitalist government. As a human rights lawyer, Bregman took a leading role in pressing charges against the military officers for the crimes against humanity during the dictatorship. Borders. AOC has voted to fund ICE. This allows a Gestapo-like police force to terrorize immigrants. Back when Trump was in office, AOC used to criticize the concentration camps for immigrant children. Now with Biden in the White House, AOC has said that kids need to be put in cages. Bregman defends the old school socialist call for open borders. It's not about words. Bregman joins protests by immigrant workers against racial police for living wage and for decent housing, internationalism. AOC gave tacit support for the coup in Venezuela, 100%. She said, I got to defer to caucus leadership on this, coup that the U.S. is trying to support in Venezuela, 100%. She went with supporters of the coup. Believe it, she's trash. She's not a socialist. She's not a socialist. She likes to play one on TV, right? Bregman gave support to the mass uprisings in Ecuador and Chile against pro-imperialist governments. Bregman's party never gave political support to the governments of Nicolas Maduro or Hugo Chavez, but was even more forceful in condemning any international interference in Latin America. It's not limited words. Socialist politicians spoke at rallies and were in the front lines of solidarity demonstrations at the U.S. Embassy. Class enemy. Yeah, the Met Gala with her tax the rich dress, where it's $30,000 a ticket. AOC tried to paint herself as a victim of sexism. Bregman, like all of the representatives of the Workers' Left Front, refused to attend any closed-door meetings with representatives exploited. All her work in the parliament is in full public view, as it should be, right? What do you have to hide? Career. According to rumors, AOC is planning to run for the Senate, which is one explanation why she chose to portray the Palestinian cause. Capitalist politicians make a career out of serving in Congress, and most of them become very wealthy in the process. Bregman had a seat in the National Congress for 1.5 years. She then resigned to make way for other reps of the Workers' Left Front. All the FITU's reps rotate like this. She then spent 4 years as a legislator in the city of Buenos Aires. Cops. AOC does photo ops with the NYPD, the same police force that beats and murders AOC's voters. Again, the same police force that was brutalizing people who were protesting outside that Met Gala. The contradictions speak very loudly, right? Bregman, as a revolutionary socialist, is a relentless opponent in police and their so-called unions. Cops are an enemy of the working class. She calls for workers' self-defense and the abolition of the police, class independence. AOC is formerly a member of the DSA, but does that mean anything? No, not really. The DSA has zero influence over how she votes. Any accountability is limited to AOC staffer calling people in Queens once a month. AOC does not represent her socialist base. Instead, she represents the Democratic wing of the U.S. capitalist cause, 100%. Bregman is a leading member of the Party of Socialist Workers, which is part of the Workers' Left Front, Unity, FITU. She has worked for decades to build up a revolutionary socialist org with deep roots in workplaces, schools, and universities and neighborhoods. Bregman votes are not based on her whims. They represent the organization that put her in office. Comparing AOC to versus Bregman, 10 categories result 10-0 for Bregman. This is not because Bregman is a better person than AOC, a more honest socialist. AOC is not a socialist. Rather, it's because Bregman is part of a revolutionary socialist party, whereas AOC is part of a capitalist party. Socialists and the Democratic Party will always betray their voters. The only alternative is to build up a party of and for working people. 100%. We got to break free of that corporate duopoly. So I just thought that was an interesting article worth pointing out and worth highlighting that there are actually, principled politicians outside of the U.S. who are willing to stand up and fight for the working class, for socialism, against imperialism, materialism, militarism, etc. But we don't see that within either corporate party in the United States because they're completely bought and paid for by the capitalist class and by imperialism as well. So like the video if you like the video, subscribe for more content. Quick shout out to the 2 Uber comrades supporting this channel, my content, my partner, and Independent Left News. Definitely check out Independent Left News. Peace.